Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Capsule Cast. This is a special edition. It's the pre-Tenkaichi Bowl, kind of the setup. We have the third and fourth place kind of decision match, as well as the first two rounds of the final. So, going to be a lot going on. Uh, as always, I am your host, DoorGuard, and I have, of course, our special co-host, Donut,
Hello.
and our guest this week, Toshiro.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Now, for those wondering why he's on all the time, when we got so far into the league, there's kind of only two teams left in the finals, so you might be hearing a lot of Muscle and Rugrats as these final casts go. But as with any season, it'll kind of get that way as we're cutting down. Well, you guys have any remarks before moving on to the Bujin's Budokai third and fourth place match?
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Alrighty then, moving into round one. This is a best of three. Starting off, we have Super Boo and Nam coming in with their attack +2, though even though they both have a defense -1, Nam, as a Dragon Ball character, has an additional defense -1, so he's at -2. So certainly seemed like an interesting decision, and Super Boo just barely takes Nam out before getting taken out very instantly by Engoku, looking very even like their seasonal match that went down to the last bar as well. Engoku is actually on a Style the Strong Super +2 build, and even hits a near 15k ult on Evil Boo. But unfortunately, that was just not quite enough, and Evil Boo manages to fight back, and Engoku decides to tag at his last bar to attempt to go for that shenanigan again, and early Goku comes in to finish off the Gray Menace. Majin Buu enters and pretty much takes out most of early Goku, only losing a bar. Kid Buu comes in to avenge his slightly older self, takes out Majin Buu without losing any health at all. What little he did, early Eternal Life brought it back up. Majub comes in, takes out the rest of Kid Goku, losing half of his HP, and then takes half of General or Cyborg Tao before going down. Kid Buu comes in and hits just a raw, almost as the millisecond he hits the ground, 16,000 ult, finishing off Tao. Without taking any damage. Now we have Kid Buu versus the last bar of Goku, and before he can get his ult off, Kid Buu hits him in the face with a Super Kamehameha to end the match, giving Pujins the first round. So what started off as a very even match, a lot of back and forth, characters just destroying one character, getting destroyed by the other, and it was looking really in Budokai's favor, but Maju came in and just took out pretty much the rest of Kid Goku, who was kind of popping after taking Majin Buu without losing life, and then a good chunk of Cyborg Tao, who they really needed to pop off in this first match, and just basically destroying him without him doing much. That 13k was kind of the real turning point after early Goku got kind of walled out as well. So it was an interesting round one. Some fun matchups, of course, and technically they had the correct N Goku costume, and it was on the Supreme Kai planet, so it was indeed a canon fight to end it, but ended in a non-canon fashion as Kid Buu took out N Goku. So Toshiro, how'd you feel about the first match of the third and fourth place match?
It was a good match. Let's go ahead and start it off. Both teams came out swinging out strong and all. Um, Honestly, I am. I know you guys are probably happy. At least Kid Buu threw out one ultimate. Uh, because I know you guys originally were, and especially during the playoffs, were trying to get him to ult more consistently, but for some reason, whatever his AI was, it just wasn't doing it. Did you guys switch him back to what, TNAI
Yes, we
or
switched him back to Frieza AI since
Free A?
TNAI
Okay,
just wasn't quite doing it. But it's been
okay.
switching between Frieza and TN for a while now.
Overall, like I said, I like this match overall. It was pretty good. Um, both teams, like I said, it came out strong. I'm actually glad to see the return of the Style of the Strong and Goku. I was wondering when and if they were going to ever bring him back because I'm pretty sure they haven't had him on that build for a good while. Um, but it just seems like Bujins, they had their team started to work a little bit more cohesively as like I know and I've seen what they can originally do, so they were able to just take the edge over it. I don't have much to say about it. It was just a good match to really enjoy and watch overall. Don't I?
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. Overall, as you said, it started off very even, very back and forth, which we love to see. especially after the main season match between these teams, which was deemed as one of the best matches of the season. Um, and unfortunately for Budokai, they kind of fell off towards the later half of it with early Goku and Cyber Tao really struggling against Majin Buu and Maju respectively. Um, the main thing that sticks out to me is that Budokai went 40% on the B2s. They fired 15 but only hit 6 of them, so that's not a winning combination by any means, especially against a team as consistent, as dominant as Bujins have shown themselves to be over the course of the season. I say obviously everyone really did the what Kid Boo throwing out the ult and hitting the ult. That's always nice to see, and obviously Style of Strand is coming out on Goku, getting what 15k nearly on Evil Boo. That was that's um very fun to watch there. Other than that, not much else to really talk about. Obviously, Budokai had a tag in there. They had a clash win, and that kind of helped even things out a little bit. But it was mainly of a story of Super Boo and Nam going fairly even, which was really good for Budokai. And then you just saw that while Kid Goku did a lot of his things, it was the issue of, well, which early Goku and Cyber Tao do we get today? Do we get the ones who go 7 for 11 on B2s, or do we get the one who does 1 for 5, right? And unfortunately for them, today was the 1 for 5. And that was the main story of the game. So yeah, obviously congrats to Bujins for winning round 1.
Yeah, not a lot to say with there being a second round, kind of just a taste. Obviously, starting off so even, as we've said many a time now, is kind of what I think a lot of people are hoping after the main season match to just see that kind of pseudo rivalry still explode there. So, yeah, lots going on. I will say to keep track in Goku's style of strong, technically should have done a lot more, but he did do it into the tank that is Evil Boo, who has defense +2, lane, and Dende. So, kind of the characters to eat it, he was kind of the one to eat it, and that was kind of the worst thing for Budokai in that instance. I think had he done it on pretty much anyone else, they would have had a lot better time, but unfortunately it hit the one guy who's basically meant to just suck up damage and kind of fight back from that. So still was a great fight, but just a little unfortunate on the target of that. Well, with that, do you guys want to move on to the second match then?
Let's do it.
I would just say one more thing. Bujins, you guys, in terms of your fighters, really took advantage of the small things that Budokai didn't. I noticed that when what's his face? Can't think of his name. Kid Buu, when he did the ultimate and everything like that, I think Tao was locked off or something like that.
Yeah.
And he ended up doing
he hit an
a
ultimate?
Super Kamehameha.
Yeah, and while he was still not locked on, he charged up and hit a Super Kamehameha to take him out very quickly. So, yeah, a great capitalization you rarely see when a character is locked off.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's just my only thing. Like, they took advantage of like the little things that really mattered, and that just turned it into their advantage. So yeah, but otherwise, I'm good to go.
Alrighty then. So moving on to round 2, or match 2 as some would say, of Bujins Budokai. Obviously there was 0 turnaround, so there was no time to change build's positioning or anything, so just starting off again with the same characters, doing the same stuff. Super Buu again taking Nam out with a little less than a bar left, and again goes down to Goku without doing any damage to him, though he stalled a little longer so he didn't have as much savior time. Majin Buu comes in and just this time spams several Super Kamehameha waves into Goku and just completely takes him out, not losing more than a bar here, which was very surprising to see. Early Goku comes in and he even eats a 15k super explosive wave anger explosion Majin Buu ult. We don't get to see too often, and it destroys the map, the Namek map, so just like it did in the season. And both of them actually tag at about a bar, so neither taking each other out. Kid Buu comes in versus Kid Goku, and actually Kid Buu surprisingly takes out his Eternal Life attack plus counterpart with a lot of well-timed spam to stop him from getting some combos off. Early Goku, though, finishes off Kid Buu, but goes down to Evil Buu pretty quickly. Cyborg Tao now is against 2 full characters and a 1-bar Majin Buu, and he needs to basically go elite to bring it back. And he actually starts off very strong, taking out Evil Boo, even hitting a 9k ult, only losing about 2 bars. But Maj Oob comes in and he says he's not going to listen to any of this nonsense, and pretty quickly spams him out, only losing about a bar as well. So Boojins take round 2, which makes the best of 3 end here, giving Boojins the bronze medal and giving Budokai 4th place. So a good follow-up match, honestly, still pretty high impact, some good moments, but this one was just one where Budokai just couldn't quite hit the big ults. They really needed Goku to still ult and hit for some big damage. Cyborg Tao definitely stepping it up. Early Goku really stepping it up, but Kid Goku just getting walled out by Kid Buu was just, I don't think, in anybody's mind. I know when that happened on stream, I was expecting it to go way worse because he is just an offensive powerhouse. I know he has defense -2, but since they put him to just attack +1 instead of +2, I knew, hey, he's got more defense than he had when he was against Muscle, technically, and he was still slapping people over there. So it was definitely a surprise for sure to see him get shut down, but I know Evil Boo getting kind of clapped back and was another surprise there. But yeah, just very great. I think the biggest thing was just the second opponents this time around didn't go as even. Majin Buu just kind of popped off, showing how to do the Super Kamehameha, saying it's his technique apparently, and even showing off with his ult, which has been rare in the later weeks of the season. So it was kind of good to see it again, at least doing it for full damage instead of for 1 tick as he's been doing randomly. But I think Budokai still put in a good fight. It just came down to who kind of got off their spam more efficiently, and it just ended up being Boojins on this round. So, yeah, Toshiro, what'd you think about this ending off the 3rd and 4th place match?
Well, first off, you probably already said it, but congratulations to Blue Jays for the bronze medal. Otherwise, it was a good match. You can really see where Budokai, they kind of started slipping a little bit more. Either I think you mentioned earlier how they weren't either getting off their ultimates or missing it. Early Goku ended up throwing out his ult early, but it was at a wrong angle and a wrong time, because I think Majin Buu was sliding into the water and it hit the ground instead. So like little things like that where it was very unfortunate. He was able to make it up, still hitting 63k. Kidiku, I'm kind of surprised that how little he did, even with the attack +1 this round. You said that he went against Kid Buu, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
he went up against Kid Buu on his defense +3 build. So Eternal
I
Life
guess-
versus no healing. That's why that was scary for us, is him coming in with that.
The thing I see about that matchup is more so that I think Kid Buu actually he seems like he would have the faster melee out of the two, so he can easily catch Kid Goku out a lot easier. And that attack +1, while it can still do damage, it doesn't really pierce through his defense +3 that he has. So it all came down to matchup, and that it just overall it really sucked that they weren't able to capitalize on like the little things like that, or it, like I said, the matchups just didn't go their way. It was still a great match. Tao picking up really in the end and trying to bring it back for his team. I was really rooting for it to be a little bit closer, because if he got Maju down, it would have been down to just Majin Buu and Tao, and I think Majin Buu only had 1 bar left. So overall, it's a great match. Tao and early Goku showed really what they can do. Even Nam showed his stuff. It's just unfortunate for Goku and Kid Goku, they weren't able to really maximize on certain aspects that they probably needed to. So, Donut?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. This is the exact flip for Budokai than what happened in the previous round, right? Where it was Kid and End not holding their weight, and Cyber Tao and Early stepping up, right? It was the exact opposite. And with Cyber Tao popping off as he did 4 on the B2s and hitting that ult, obviously, it looked like it would be in their favor. And as well with Majin Buu, he did 78k, but that was a poor performance from the B2 usage from him. surprisingly, right? He went 2 for 8 on B2s. So you're thinking, like, well, how did he do 78k, right? Well, he had the ult, right? Basically, is your answer. And it's weird. It felt very weird. I obviously the turning point of the match was definitely Kid Buu over Kid Goku, and once that happened, once you lose your MVP, your star player, it's kind of a feels bad, man, right? But obviously that Budokai did show both matches. They showed that all the characters have potential to pop off, right? And that's really cool to see. That's not a one-man team, right? So that's good going into the off season, at the very least for them. For Bujins, everyone did their thing. Super Buu smacking people. Evil Buu kind of had a down performance this match actually overall. But he also is more of a closer character if I remember right? Um, so take it as you will, right? But everyone else doing their thing and then some. So that's really cool to see from them. And not much else to say. They went even on clashes. They went even on tags. Everything was very even between these teams. It was like, as Toshiro said, very small things. Early Goku nearly hitting that ult, right? But not quite. Early Goku in the previous round throwing out B2s but not hitting them, right? It's small things, right? Things that add up, right? Even to the point of those high speed dodges, right? When you go back and forth, like, well, do you win it out? That could be a difference of 3,000 damage, right? Which adds up over time. Um, so there's small things, right? Very small things, but I think it's still a good showing from both teams this season. And obviously, congrats to Bujins for the third place win.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those. I don't think anybody could predict how this match would turn out. I don't think many people predicted it'd be 2-0 at the very least. I know in the Bujins camp we weren't gonna go into this like super hardcore. We kind of did our normal planning, but we kind of dropped it pretty quick to move on to testing since both teams were allowed and both teams were submitting builds for test pretty quickly. Um, and I think Budokai went in with a pseudo, hey, we're going to try some new stuff. There's new non-build to a degree, which changed Kid Goku's. Obviously, something different on N Goku than what he's had during the season. Um, so they had still some very strong builds out there, but you could tell that like we had some other AIs on characters. They had other builds on characters. Both teams knew that this was a good fight, but seeing as how it is for the third place spot, and usually people only remember first place, not even second. It's just one of those. I think both teams kind of knew going in that it mattered, but there wasn't really a reason. Like you didn't get anything off it, so it was just kind of a throw some stuff out there kind of day. But I still think they came out and showed a pretty good match off in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that, would you guys like to get into round 1 and 2 of the final?
Let's do it.
Sure.
So for those wondering, there are, sorry, I forgot I have this fun little image. I am very good at MS Paint, don't at me, for third and fourth place. Congrats, gave it to early Goku. He put in a lot of work this season, and
Yep.
Super Boo, Best Boo, obviously, nothing against that Master Throw user extraordinaire. So congrats to the third and fourth place winners of the 2020 Season DBZ League, hopefully for a better 2021. So
That freaking massive throw attack build is nasty.
Oof. Is
throw it on
that
everybody. Just got to do that, bro.
literally throw on everyone. We could.
If only you weren't limited to 2 master throws. So, moving on, we are only doing round 1 and 2. Those are the only 2 fought the last. So it's a best of 5. So whatever finishes after round 1 and 2 will be played then at the end of the bowl, depending on the order that it is streamed in. So that'll be coming later. But starting it off, we got Muscles and Rugrats. This is all going to be now on Cell Games Arena, so there is no home field advantage. It is simply the base field, and it's not like the MVP LVP stadium where there's ring outs. It's just an pretty big open area, but it's got the nice little Cell Games Arena in it. So starting off, we have Super Trunks on his Super Melee build versus Cell Jr., who unfortunately, since there's no Go Tanks, does not get his fantastic EL build. So as you can tell, Trunks pretty much just eats him alive, only losing about a bar, which forces Aurelia in. Aurelie does manage to take out Trunks, but she goes down to her last bar before that happens, so she's not looking too hot when Roshi comes in and finishes off the last bar, the Demon Child. After that, Roshi, I guess, got possessed by the Demon Child because when Goten enters, Roshi does a triple health pushback because Goten got off a false courage, so the pushback didn't actually push him back on the first two, and basically nearly kills himself, then just eats a Kamehameha to go down without much of a fight. Probably did more damage to himself than he did to any character this round, so that was fun to see. Highly recommend checking that out. I hope if we make montage of moments of the season that makes it in there, because I don't think I've ever seen one happen where it was like so certainly was fun. In comes in Bojack to take on Super Saiyan Goten. They proceed to have a spam battle where they even get into a beam clash that Goten wins, getting an extra 10k. Bojack transforms, but all it did was make him a bigger target, and he gets just barely nicked by Goten's ult, which is a cutscene ult, which hits him for the full 15,000, taking him out. Broly comes in, though, and pretty quickly takes out Goten, who then gets quickly taken out by Cyberman, who is now the Broly Destroyer. Added to his list of titles, Cyberman will soon be more titles than man. And he even tags with about half a bar left, so he's ready to come back in after doing a good chunk. He took about half of 13. Kid Trunks comes in, finishes off the rest of 13 to give round 1 to the Rugrats. So in terms of entertainment, this had some crazy moments, honestly. Super Trunks popping off. I think the plan and what we talked about last week was, what do you throw into Super Trunks? Cell Jr. took the bait. Kind of needed to get his spam off, but Trunks stayed in his face. But everything else went pretty according to plan, by it looks like, for Rugrats. Goten finally using his ult to good effect. Aurelie didn't look like she did super hot, but she did hit the damage number of 40k, so it was good enough. Cyberman obviously popping. He's the next MVP next year. You can already see it. Can have 10 elites under his belt. Dude is a beast, especially if they keep him in his nice cabbage red costume, nice and fresh. Meanwhile, muscle side, just things were just not panning out. Obviously, Broly getting surprised, spammed out by Cyberman, Roshi killing himself, and Bojack getting clipped by that ult. All pretty bad omens to come for this match when you see in that live, especially. So, Toshiro, how'd you feel about your squad's performance in round 1 here?
It was a mixed feeling. Of course, happy that I took round 1. I wasn't too happy about Cell Jr.'s and, to an extent, Aurelie's performance. Aurelie, I expected to do more because usually she does around 50k or so on average, generally. Cell Jr., we kind of knew it's kind of an experimental build to some extent. Basically, with his build, it was like defense +3, I think Dende's power, rage, and then like fighting spirit or something like that. I forgot. I don't have it on the top of my head right now. But either way, we basically took the build that we used versus Cinema in week 7 and kind of converted it to where we know his melee isn't good. His B2s are decent and everything like that, so it's just like give him some charge because his charge rate is bad, basically.
Booty sauce.
So yeah, basically. So it was just like we're trying to give him the tools in order to do it, and the AI that we put him on, Krillin AI, seemed to do well in the main season when we tested it. So we were like, okay, at least he has the defense going against whoever he is. I kind of predicted Trunks, maybe Broly. Those are the main two that they usually start. So it's just like, okay, hopefully maybe it's Trunks and he is able to spam it enough and all, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. He didn't really do much with his build, and that kind of sucked because essentially we're fighting a 4v5 already. With Cell Jr. kind of breaking. And we thought about using his key build that we used in round 2 and 3 versus Bujins because of how well it did versus Cold. But now that build didn't want to work at all versus Bujin, so it was just like, we don't even know what to do right now because his build is kind of Aurelie, it was unfortunate that she wasn't able to take out Trunks. I feel like my team kind of has an issue with sometimes finishing the opponent right away when you need to,
Yeah.
but she kind of made it up at the end. Um, Otherwise, I'm very glad. I wasn't expecting or not Cell Junior, Cyberman. Let me get that right. Cyberman to actually take out Broly. Um, both of them running light body and all, but he was actually doing B2s in order to counter the Kakarot's. And like I said earlier with the third place matches, taking advantage of the little things and turning it, maximizing it. Um, Trunks didn't really have to do much, but 13 could have easily brought it back because I think 13 brought him down to almost 2 bars, um,
I think
before
he
Trunks took
got
him
killed
out.
before transforming as well, so
Yeah, he did, which is kind of sucks for Muscle, but for us it was just like, okay, cool. He's still at least he still posed a threat regardless on if we had two characters versus their one. So overall, I was fine with this match. Roshi doing the impossible. I've only seen that done, I think, in one of my tests. Goten did that once for whatever reason. But I think he only did like 2 health pushbacks, which is the worst thing. And I feel like hopefully we'll talk about that and that should be taken out of the game. I don't know if that's possible. I hate that move. But it was I feel like once Roshi did that, it pushed it back into our favor because we were able to kind of catch up after that. Um, if Roshi didn't do that, I feel like it's possible that we could have still got picked it up a bit more. And I only say that because at least in this match, it feels like all of our team, except for Cell Junior, of course, was actually doing what we wanted them to do and what they were built to do. So I feel, and based off of, we went against them week 1, which is a huge difference. But in week one, if you look at our builds, we had completely different builds, and we weren't settled on the majority of our builds versus Muscle then. And we were able to bring it down to, I think, 1.5 bars and everything. I'm not sure how much Muscle changed between then and now. I think their builds changed slightly, but not too much. But then when you look at now with how we build our characters and everything, we got to where we are now with decent builds and everything. Our characters working great the majority of the time. So I felt like we could have made it, and everything is still taking round 1 without the pushbacks. But that definitely helped, and I accepted it. Donut.
Wow, how do you start with this match? There's a lot to unpack. Obviously, the big question coming into the day was, how do you start? If you're Rugrats, what do you do? And I know Ryan talked about it on the last Capsule cast, asking who's the answer for Super Chunks, right? 'Cause it's the same
I
boat
think it
as
was
Super
just they
Boo.
were always going to do an attack +2 start, and that was the
Yeah,
question.
exactly. But yeah, and well, it's like they fit the same similar role, Super Boo and Super Chunks, right? Just these big melee type dudes, right? Or that they could put Super Chunks to do multiple things. But and it was like, how do you start? Who do you sacrifice essentially? And obviously, Cell Junior was the choice here, and I think that was probably one of the better options you can do. To say, hey, buddy, do your best out there, take one for the team, and just get some chip damage, right? And that's not how it worked. But the big things are that for this match at least, a lot of the little things. Obviously, that's a kind of like a theme throughout this episode is a lot of little things went in the way of Rugrats' favor. The supposed dodge from Bojack on the Rose Kamehameha, and then it still hits anyway. It's like, well, alright, that's 15k right there. The triple pushback, which we'll very rarely see in actual matches, let alone testing or anything like that, right? Cyberman beating Broly, which is the big surprise for everyone's day. No one thought that would happen. And there's a lot of things that went into favor for Rugrats to make this win. However, not saying if that none of that stuff, let's say the pushback didn't happen, does Rugrats still win? They still had Kid Trunks in the back, right? He was still somewhat healthy at the end, right? So, and we know he can be a 60k plus character, right? Any day. So I do think Rugrats would have won this match at least this round, but I think it would have been a lot closer. For Muscle, obviously your big key points or high moments are Super Trunks and 13. I think those two are very in a very good spot right now. Roshi, you kind of throw some away. Say, hey, shit happened, right? No, we got a little bit of a unfortunate event. Same with Bojack. So I feel those two trade on a lot more, right? Um, and Broly, I don't know what to say about Broly. That was a wild match. I don't know what to say about that one. Cyberman in no way or form should have beaten Broly. Like, if you're coming into the match or into the season, say, this character versus that character, who do you take? 10 out of 10 times you take Broly, right? That's just your first instinct, but not today. Cyberman, crucial into this win. Crucial. And what are y'all doing with the cabbage boy? Yeah, keep doing that shit. That was fantastic. Yeah, so a lot of things went well. Goten spammed like crazy, 5 for 7 on B2s. Just love to see it. Holistically, I think there's a lot of good things for Rugrats and a lot to take away from this match. So congrats to them for the round 1 win.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously with any match, there's going to be a million factors that go into it. But I think there was, even without the whole Roshi suicide, there was, you take any of those single moments out, there was still just a lot left in Rugrats' tank.
Yeah.
So, still a lot ready to go. Cyberman was definitely ready to blow himself up. You know, he's waiting for the right moment
Yes.
to do that on the stage.
Yep.
He's
Slap
definitely
save on
been
him.
waiting all season. It's getting there. It's getting
Finish off Broly with it, and then tag. That would be like the best moment ever
God.
for me.
I just end the bowl like that. End the bowl with the Cyberman ult. That's how you do it.
Win or lose,
Yeah, I'm
Cyberman
going
ult
for it.
2020. Oh, you guys ready to move on to round 2 then?
Let's do it. Well, maybe not
Yeah,
for
alright.
Toshio. Maybe not for Toshio, but
All right, so this is
I'm
now going to
okay.
be a 2-man cast for this next
Yes.
round. Couldn't tell you why. So, starting off, again, we have Super Trunks and missing character. So this time, whoever they weren't allowed to switch order, but whoever they sent in didn't show up. So Super Trunks just kind of did one health pushback and then moved on to fighting Goten. And surprisingly enough, he was having a spam fight on his attack build with Goten, taking him out with 2 bars left. And just like going on absolute terror. Uh, I just, man, Super Trunks just starting off crazy this time. And then he goes into big boy mode, even hits a 16k ult to give himself elite status, and then tags with 1 bar left, leaving Cyberman with 1 bar. So just about as bad of a start for Rugrats as you can ask, as good of a start for Muscle as you could ask, taking out Goten, insert Junior here, and most of Cyberman, who then gets unfortunately blown up by another 10k ult by 13, who comes in and says, I have this bomber thing, and blows him up. 13 brings in a good fight and tags at 1 bar after taking Kid Trunks down to a bar, and Broly finishes off Kid Trunks with an eraser cannon of his own. Broly then tags at 2 bars after taking about a bar and a half of a Rayleigh, and Bojack finishes off the Demon Child. So a absolutely terrifying showing from Muscle here. They 5-0'd Rugrats, didn't lose a single character. Now, to give a lot of credit, everybody who tagged with 2 bars except for Broly, who had, or tagged at 1 bar except for Broly, who tags at 2, but Roshi didn't even have to hit the field. So, on the bright side, it is a 1-1 going into the bowl. Certainly a lot of time to test out and change things. Even though this result was like the absolute worst outcome for Muscle, with no time to change in between. Obviously, Rugrats would want to change order, seeing as how the start was going after the first round, with Insert Junior here not showing up this time, even harder than last time and then Goten just like doing even worse than that. So I don't think this is something to be too worried about, because obviously this is one of those just extreme moments where the team that won was on top of everything with tagging, on top of everything with damage. And to be fair, Broly and Bojack tagged after only doing about 25k each, so they weren't even like doing that hot when they had to tag near death. So to put it mildly, I think there was still a lot of goods for Rugrats to come out of this in terms of planning elements, but certainly was a very unlucky time in terms of just when everything could go wrong, this was the time for it to go wrong. But to go 1-1 off that is, I don't think is going to be as detrimental as some might see it. So, Toshiro, do you want to say one or two sentences?
I hate you.
So hey, we stopped today. Today.
Anyways, no. Essentially, like this match, like you said, like what you had
All right,
two
so we're out of
characters down
time for
to one.
Toshiro. Moving on.
So rude, man.
Man.
You take all the
So
time you need. Go ahead on schedule.
so you had two characters with one bar. You had what? Trunks and 13, and then Broly at two.
He had enough to
Unfortunately.
regen to 2. Yes.
And then Bojack got down to 2. Yeah, Muscle just came out swinging, and they did not, which is I find it funny because I think Ryan said this after the stream or during the stream. It was just like, yeah, no, they didn't want Roshi coming out at all. They saw the crap that he pulled round 1. It was just like, no, you're in timeout or whatever. So go stand somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um,
Do something.
this is the scary Muscle that I'm pretty sure I kind of expected to some extent. I didn't expect Super Trunks to go elite at all. And not only did he go elite, the thing is that when he transformed, my issue with that is our characters, except for Rayleigh and Gotenks, if we actually have him out in Super Saiyan 3, they have an issue with fighting power body characters. So that's the main issue. And with Super Trunks being in power body, having the power body due to his savior and everything, and launching off that what is it, the super explosive wave, that didn't help us at all. Rayleigh did pop off a little bit more so, and doing at least what I expected her to do, which was close to 60k. Goten, like you said, I'm about to just do what Donut does, and Cell Jr.'s just redacted now. So redacted, I'm not going to even deal with him at all.
Reacted Junior.
Hey, that's how I fit 17. That's what I did. That's how I
Redacted
fixed him.
Junior.
There's also redacted 17. So don't worry.
Yep.
There's
That's true.
several redacted.
Yep.
So redacted Junior only got close to 20k, which was an improvement off of what the first round, which is cool, I guess, but it's nowhere near what we wanted. Cyberman, I forgot who Cyberman went against. Oh, he went against Super Trunks.
Yeah,
So
he,
it just
he
shows you
faced.
how the
He
melee.
didn't face Super Trunks. He faced Super Duper Trunks. This was the biggest Trunks that could
Yeah,
be
in
out
the
on
mid
the
one.
field.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just see how bad melee is, and for Trunks, I think at that point at his health, Cyberman technically already has a defense neutral, with a defense +2, and then the latent energy kind of builds up from there. But that was just his playground. That was just Super Trunks' playground right there, where he was just able to get off to as much damage as he want. Kid Trunks, I'm kind of surprised, I guess, to an extent. It just what he went against 13. So, androids having the passive charging, while Trunks has the passive charging up to 3 bars in base form. It just kind of showed that in that sense, and the androids kind of had more of a advantage in that sense because Kid Trunks tends to try to charge a lot more. So, I don't know exactly how this would have been differently. I feel like a lot of different factors. Of course, Donut said this earlier. Not Donut. Dor said this earlier, where it's just like there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into it. And just for my team, I'm not going to say that the AI broke or whatever. It just seems like the AI just, while it didn't break and everything, completely different in terms of what we seen and what we really wanted. So I think the coin just flipped more in Muscle's favor. Because it's just like you have Goten. Goten charged up to max power multiple times. Did not throw out a single ultimate, or he threw out a B2 instead, which is not what we built him for. So it's just like little things like that where it kind of annoys me and everything, and my team more so, because we know what our team is capable of and all, but they just didn't show that. So hopefully we can do that in the next. I always call for hopefully 2 more rounds for us to just win it all, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Muscle's not going to allow that to happen for us.
Just
If we,
trade
if
the
we can manage to do it.
just take the redacted and push it over there.
No. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it from me. I don't. It's not much to say. It's just like it's unfortunate because our character, like I said, our characters didn't break. It's just the coin toss. It just the coin flip. It didn't go in our favor. It went to more so muscles, and they really tagged a lot more than our characters. Who muscle had 3 tags, we got 0, and which is really odd based on how our characters usually tag a lot more so. But go Don, what are your thoughts?
Well, this was a match. This was indeed a match that happened. So yeah, by the way, that redacted, there is some proof that it works. The very next week after I started doing that, 17 went like 60k, something like that, 50k, something like that. So hey, maybe there's hope for Cell Junior, alright? Or redacted Junior, let's say. Let's deal with that. But yeah, Muscle just was on a tear this match. Super Trunks alone doing more than about 4 characters of what Rugrats did, and that's just how dominant he was in this match, right? They went 2 for 2 on ults, right? Compared to 0 for 1, 3 tags to 0, as Toshiro said. So a lot of things went their way. It's hard to like break down this match, right? Because obviously Muscle's all happy about this, right? Super Trunks popping off, 13 doing great. And as Rugrats, do you take this as is this a one-off type thing? Or do you say, hey, Kid Trunks repeatedly, this second match in a row, he's done under 30,000, under 28,000 even. That's a problem, right? It's another second match in a row, so Junior did under 20,000. That's an issue, right? So do you look at that, or do you say, hey, maybe it's a matchup thing, we can find out, switch out Kid Trunks and maybe swap him with Goten or something like that. Maybe we find a way to make him come out sooner and avoid that 13 matchup, avoid the Android matchup. Because they're saying they don't like to sit around and be passive, they like to be in your face type of characters, for Androids at least. That's something that Rugrats will have to think about and kind of look at. Aurelie, I think, is the character you have to say the tip you have to is like, alright, she's on point right now. She's okay. And right now she seems the only character remotely capable of taking Super Trunks even. The only character thus far in these 2 matches. So that's something of note to take away. Obviously, Muscle sees the exact same thing, says, hey, we need to avoid that matchup now. How do we avoid it, right? Because I don't think you'll ever start Aurelie. But if you do, maybe that's the play. Maybe you do start Aurelie. Maybe that is your curveball you throw. But it'll be a lot of chess match, I think, going into this next round. And that's still 3 rounds, actually, hopefully. And this is a very weird match in regards to tagging, right? As you said, Rugrats is usually a tagging team. They've done 23 on the season. Muscle's only done 14 on the season, right? And they out-tagged them 3-0 today. So that was very weird, just overall. Right now it just seems like the brick wall of Super Trunks and 13 versus the All-Stars of Aurelie and Kid Trunks. That's really the matchup right now I'm looking at. And obviously congrats to Muscle for tying the series up, but I'm very curious to see how the chess match will unfold going into this. I know Muscle is like, we deem them as these like kings of adaptation, right? And Rugrats never been here before, so I'm very curious to see what curveballs they throw here into the next rounds.
I will just add the counter something that you did say. It was that Trunks, this is his second time doing under 30k. The thing was that round 1, he didn't really have a choice.
True, he didn't have a choice.
So,
but
yeah, but your point still stands. It was just like, yeah.
He didn't have characters to go through, right? But we do expect more than 27,000 out of him, out of the all-star character of Kid Trunks and MVP. So.
Oh yeah.
We expect a little bit more from him.
We expect 28,000. Come on.
Yeah, 28. Come on, what's he doing?
Yeah, report him. Get him out of here.
Drop him. Don't need him.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Redacted ends up on another team this next year. Nothing's set
Hey,
yet.
hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Huh?
I am not. Even Donut is my well, I guess friend and then former coach.
Wow. Wow,
Um,
I guess fan. Wow, I'm hurt. I am hurt right now. Whoa. I thought we had a relationship going, and just that all crumbled, I guess. Alright. Sad.
but I'm not giving Androids what they want unless I somehow end up back on their team, and
Ooh.
that's probably not going to happen.
Oh. I was like, the plot twist. Oh.
Alrighty then. Well, you guys like to get on to doing some predictions then?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Sure.
So I only have the one slide, but we'll start off with who do you guys think will do it in the MVP? Um, I'll say for probably the safest bet, I would bet a Vegeta. You know, there's only one, two, like four Vegetas. Yeah, that's enough
Yeah, yeah.
Vegetas to
Mid,
bet on
baby,
Vegeta. If you had to
Majin,
pick one though,
and
I think I'm gonna go with Majin. I know we haven't seen him in a long time, but they've been testing pretty much everything on him, and he still just does his stuff because he's Majin Vegeta. So, I'll give a slight regard to Majin Vegeta in terms of the MVP tournament.
gotcha.
Hmm. I'm going. Two of my choices are probably biased because of the teams I was on. Cell or Kid Trunks. Cell just because Cell just destroys. Kid Trunks mainly because he does well specifically in 1v1 fights. And if I recall, he's done pretty well in the previous MVP fight, so I'm pretty sure he can probably take it. And then my third choice is probably Majin Vegeta, kind of echoing what Dor basically said. Majin Vegeta is just a monster majority of the time. So yeah.
Better. No surprise here on Cell. But as my somewhat underdog, I'd say I'm looking somewhat at Hercule right now. From Dub or Fasha from Cinema, as people who can make some noise and possibly win it.
You think the champ will actually win the tournament on his grounds?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I believe. The champ. Hey.
Well then, seems like MVP wise, it's always a fun one. It's always a strange one too, due to the unique map situation. So always up in the air, but just a fun event to watch after all. It's literally the opposite of MVP. Winning now moves you on instead of losing. So moving on to Gauntlet predictions,
Well,
you can go. What was that?
oh no, I was going to just say, I just want to see what will be kind of the backtrack. Sorry, Dor. What will probably be your the most surprising win for the MVP and everything besides the characters that we've seen? Who will probably be the most surprising that who wins it for you?
Most surprising.
Yeah, certainly a lot of variety here. Lots of spammers, lots of melee, and some tanks. Funny enough, I might actually say someone like Fasha or Evil Boo, who are much more defensive-based characters. Not necessarily meant to just defeat your opponent or knock him down, but to just outlast your opponent. Same with Say a Woman. Just very defense plus 2 focused. Those three are very defense plus 2. Like maybe you could say the same thing, but I mean obviously him and Fasha are probably a little higher in their melee department, where Say a Woman and Evil Boo seemed a lot more on their stall out their opponent plan.
Yeah, I know Evil Boo as the underdog right now in this tournament.
I would probably say Nuova, maybe for me.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, if he can't get to his 3 to 4 bars, he won't be doing too
Yeah.
much, since he is basically all in on super right now.
Yeah, and
That,
he'll
and
be
I'm expecting.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh no. Oh, go ahead, Donut.
Yeah. For Nova, he'll be facing a lot of spammers, as you said, and a lot of people who just in your face, like Bardock, right? People just in your face all the time. Fasha in your face all
Nova
the
and
time.
Evil Boo's
So-
throws also toss up instead of down.
Yep, that's
Nova's
an
throws
issue
them
on the map.
straight. Evil Boo hits them kind of like diagonally up, so they're just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's not ideal for the match for the map. So
I think the main reason for me picking Nova is that I wouldn't be surprised if Nova somehow rings himself out with his burning tornado.
Oh, that
oh
as well,
god,
yeah.
oh he'll
That
do
will
it.
be
You know he'll
hilarious.
do it.
That's one reason I put
But-
Salem there with all of her rushes. There's a chance that people dodge her
She has
rushes,
misses.
and there is the
Yep.
one wall. If you touch
That
it,
is
you're
true.
out. So
That is true.
It's so sad. The King Piccolo strat, love it.
So, what I was saying was, in terms of gauntlet style, is since you can't really predict who's going to win or lose, due to when we are recording this, builds are not posted yet, because this posts pretty quickly on Friday midday, so there's not a lot of time to record posts getting builds in. So this is done early. So we don't really know the official rosters and lineups since you can submit one for each round. We do have 3 different Kais here, though, so we can try to predict how far we think we'll go. And I think just about every team, every Kai has a decent chance of beating Saiyans. So we'll kind of, I don't know if any of us have a prediction that we're going to lose at Saiyans. So I think it's mostly do we make it to round 2, 3, or even 4. And coming for West Kai, I would say that we have a pretty solid shot at hitting round 3 at the very least. Due to the information and how we've been able to spread out our Pataras and use the other Pataras. I think we're might be the only Kai that's actually shattered a character with Teen Gohan. So we're one of the only ones that are trying to push an illegal character to a degree, but even then it's not, that doesn't mean crap if they don't do crap. So
Yeah, that's what I say. I
The-
know you're going up against illegal characters,
Yeah.
so
the biggest reason is if they can get past Super Saiyans, the next round technically is 2 characters or 4 since it's a fusion one, and if they can take out a character before they fuse, it takes away a lot of their power, or if they
Yep.
fuse and just kind of don't do much, that can take a lot of power. I do know from being a tester back when GT was added that the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta just is the strong of the strong, so there's a lot of terror there, but yeah, will be interesting. So at least for
It's-
West Kai, I predict us to hit 2 at the minimum. 3 seems pretty within reason for how we've set up our lineups. So for Toshiro, would you like to give your guess?
For South Kai, for Super Saiyans, they have what, mid, super. Okay, I probably see us potentially getting to round 2, and if we're kind of if we play our cards right and everything goes somewhat in our favor, I can see us hitting round 3. Kind of to piggyback off of what Dora was talking about earlier, we were attempting and thinking about shattering Goten, so he can have Savior, and then we can also allow it for fusions. But some rule changes came into play there and all. So kind of just going in with our regular characters, and I can still see us maybe hitting round 3, just barely. Round 2, most likely.
Alright, for North Kai, I'm thinking we'll do probably to round 3 and then fall. Looking at shattering the limit for one of the giant forms, whether it be Slug or Nappa or King Vegeta, those type of characters. So that would help us in round 3, but I still think it's a tall task, right? They definitely have a lot going for them with that round 3, but even though they only have 3 characters, right? But I think it'll be a very close win in round 2 for us.
Yeah, and this is a lot of assumptions that we take round 1. I think not trying to discredit the Super Saiyans too much. They are indeed an incredibly strong team and were banned as a team for a reason. But at the same time, they are the team with the technical most league-like builds in the sense that they're not using illegal Pataras, in the sense that Pataras that no one else can use. They are simply using builds on characters that we don't allow anymore, but those characters are still in the league and fighting today. It's just one of those, maybe not with the same builds that they could have done back when they were in Saiyans, but they are still the same build Pataras that we have access to. So
Mhm.
it's the team. It's certainly the simplest round, but from here it gets quite crazy.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
what
Do we
was that?
do East Kai?
Yeah, we can, I guess, give a
Oh.
guess for East Kai. I've peeked in their chat from time to time, and they bounced around breaking characters since they do have Muscle over there. Um, Muscle and GT, Derp, and such. So they have a very strong. Forget the last.
GT, Derp, Cinema,
Cinema, yeah.
and Muscle.
Yep.
Yeah, so very strong characters from all their teams. I know from talking with a friend on Cinema, Garlic's going to be in there. Probably going to have Baby. Obviously, the
Yeah,
champ's going to be showing up. It's just
of
extremely strong
course.
spammer. And for the first 2 rounds, he's definitely going to be able to pop off because those characters will not have anything to stop him from giving them presence.
True.
And obviously Muscle has 2 very strong characters right now in Super Trunks and Broly that have just been popping on so many builds that it gives them some diversity. So I could easily see him hitting
Mm-hmm.
round 2, and I wouldn't be too surprised for them hitting round 3 with just the fact that they have very strong cast of characters to grab from.
Mhm. Yeah, I think round 3 is a fairly um, safe bet for this team, mainly because I think Super Chunks and Hercule could win them a match just around
Oh,
just by
yeah.
themselves, right? They at least do a lot of damage in that round, right? So,
Yeah, North and East Kai definitely, I think, have access to some of the most elites. So
yeah,
they have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of characters they know can pop off. I think West Kai we have like Ultimate Gohan and Late Piccolo and such, but that's not as quite in the build diversity since they're basically the same build as looking at North and East Kai, who has some crazy diversity in the characters they've gotten elites with.
mhm.
So that's certainly a factor to help both those teams, and I think most people would expect them to do quite well.
But yeah, I think I can see them being at minimum probably round 3 with the characters they have access to.
Definitely.
And I'm wondering if we can actually see round 4 because I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
if
So
they shatter Broly as well, since that is an option they
Ooh,
could bring out. If they bring 2 muscle characters, bringing Trunks on a build and Broly shattered, I don't know. Again, builds for
that's a
us
possibility.
here on the cast have not been spoiled, so they have not been submitted. We have no idea what their builds are. We can look at the chat as it is right now, and there aren't builds um, submitted yet. So
Yeah,
there is nothing yet. Though I think they've also talked about shattering Super Baby.
I can see that. Yeah, getting the ape
yeah,
form in there.
I don't know
I
if they're
did see
go
that
ape
being
or
thrown
going.
around.
I know from what I've been talking with some of my friends in East Kai is that they wouldn't shatter him to ape. They would shatter him to Super Baby so that he could still turn
Ooh,
ape, but put him in
yeah,
a form that's very strong but not too big and gets just spammed out. So makes a lot of
I can see
sense.
that. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Well, would you guys like to move on to predictions for the Rugrats Muscle final bout, rounds 3 to potentially 5?
Let's do it.
Hmm, maybe. Sure.
All right, I'll start off. I could definitely see Rugrats grabbing another round, and it's not based purely off the last 2 rounds, but basically their whole playoff performance. I think Muscle just has, especially since Roshi's popped off, basically everybody in their team's popped off, that it's making it look like they'll take this. I don't think it'll be, I don't know if it'll necessarily go 3-1, but I could definitely see them pulling off in the end, though I would not be surprised for Rugrats taking another round here to really spice it up.
um, I can see us. So, based on how we're building, and I can actually speak on how we're going to build a bit more. Um, my team is actually leaning more towards using Gotenks, surprisingly.
Ooh.
This was spoiled in
Oh.
general chats. This is why you should join the Discord.
So they're actually like literally like not too long after the match, they're like, yeah, I think that we should probably think about using Gotenks.
Hmm.
And so like in terms of Gotenks, he's gonna be on his regular build, so it's gonna be no change at least to Goten. Um, and then of course Trunks will have to match him. So we've seen how Goten and Trunks generally act on those builds. If Goten comes out first, Goten will of course fuse hopefully early, and I'm hoping for that, into Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 3. Even base tanks can do well. I'm just
Yeah.
still kind of iffy on it. Aurelie, there was some talk about changing her build slightly, just like changing one Patara from like QFA to like charged attack, so it's just emphasizing a different, I think it's smash attacks instead of on the rush attacks or whatever. Cyberman is pretty much going to stay the same. Maybe upgrading his power rage to dragon power. I'm not completely sure on that. Team deciding to see if that goes differently. And then Cell Junior. Cell Junior is going to have worse since Cell Junior is going to be or Redacted Junior. I'm sorry, I got to get used to saying that now.
Yes.
Redacted Junior is actually going to probably be the one who has eternal life. And while I know a lot of people may not agree with that to some extent, I kind of do, because the thing is that if I put it on Aurelie or if I put it on Cyberman, that is a huge chunk of their build that will be somewhat different. And I may be just thinking too much about it. My thing is, I don't know how that will affect how they act and everything, because I feel like outside of key Pataras, they, at least any Patara has a slight effect on that character, so it can either go very south or it can go well. So for Cell Junior, we're probably going to keep him on a defense +3 and give him eternal life and probably light body, so at least he can hopefully charge, not get interrupted and such, and go from there. And of course, lineup I'm probably thinking about putting him more towards the back and maybe starting Cyberman instead, which I'm kind of iffy on myself, but we'll see, because I'm actually kind of projecting that maybe Muscle actually starts either Broly or 13. Because if they go based off of last match and they keep the same lineup, or they keep Super Trunks and everything like that, fine. Hopefully Cyberman can handle that and probably do a lot better job than Cell Jr. And hopefully tag when he is in danger. The issue comes in looking at the thing that I'm looking at is their pattern. If you looked at their previous matches in the qualifiers, semis, and quarterfinals, they started off with attack Trunks or something like that, and then round 2 and 3, they either started Broly on a defense or attack build, or they rarely started 13, but it's a possibility. And their builds generally don't change. The only thing that will probably change on 13 is his savior if he starts. So it's a whole bunch of different things that you have to really think about, but I feel like we can probably take it. It really heavily depends on Go Tanks and how the rest of the team really plays out. And if we don't have Go Tanks fuse at all, I'm just hoping that Goten actually does his ultimates more and actually does what his build and everyone else does what their build is supposed to do. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know if that changes your view a little bit or whatever, but at least that's like what we were thinking about, And
yeah,
I
it's
feel
not
like
to say I don't think you guys
Go.
can win it, but if I had to place my bets, then it's just like.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, Cell Jr. has been in the gutter, and Muscle looks like a more complete 5, and honestly, I think they would have given us a run for our money, and most people say Boojins was one of the most complete teams, so it's just one of those, like, can you guys do it? Certainly. I wouldn't say easily, but I would certainly say that there's no team that's just going to win this. 1-1 obviously shows that both teams have major fight in them, and any small thing can turn into a big advantage, so will be interesting to watch for sure.
Yeah, but I can probably see us maybe 3-2 either way.
Yeah, honestly, that's
Rugrats getting their first win.
And denying Muscle their third bowl victory.
Yeah, let's do that.
Their like 7th time in the final.
Yeah. Let's say it's time, but still, it's up there, right? And so for me, it's between, do I go with my head or my heart, right? My head says Muscle, my heart says Rugrats. the Gotenks is an interesting thought that kind of changes things for me. As I said, right now it's as I said earlier, it's how do you solve 13 in Trunks? That is the big question mark. And Gotenks may be that answer. Maybe that answer. If Muscle wins this, they'll have 2 wins. We need those wins to be an elite performance from Bojack and an elite performance from Broly, or not Broly, 13. Because those 2 are the only characters who don't have elites for Muscle in the playoffs. So every other character does.
We don't want that. Don't speak
Well, if they're
that
going,
at
if
all.
they're going to win, I want to have all 5 hit the elite mark. That'd be very interesting to see that happen. But you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna do 3-2 Rugrats. 3-2 Rugrats. I think Gotenks will be the play.
Alrighty then. Well, there's certainly a high variety. This is probably one of the hardest matches because it's not just a match, it's multiple matches leading to a final result. So even if we predict one right, there's so many others. And as we saw with the round 1 and round 2, this shit's weird, bro. You have no idea who's gonna trip and get hit by
Yeah.
a bros, or who's gonna trip and then Trunks eats 3 people. I mean, there's so much variety that you just can't control, especially in such a AI focused league with just how different they could be, and on a map that's never really used due to it being the bowl map. So
I will say that the freaking stage actually like to sell like his actual stage and everything, the arena, that hurts the characters like crazy because I feel
stuck
like
on the lips very hard.
well, not that when you get thrown through it, I feel like that adds on a good chunk of damage too. I'm pretty sure, at least at what it felt like when you look at the health bar. I don't know why. It just seemed like that. It's just like little things like that.
Certainly. Well, do you guys have any final remarks then on the cast today, or ready to sign it out?
Best of luck to both teams. You know,
Good luck,
hoping for all 5. You know.
You're just like G content, I guess.
I guess we'll find out. Well,
yeah, no, but good luck, Muscle and everything. Hopefully, it's a good match and everything, and yeah.
Certainly is a unique final, and finally having Rugrats in the spotlight. So, nevertheless, it is history. And I think it's also history because I don't think we did a 3rd and 4th place match in years past. So there's just a lot of changes going on, and hopefully they continue for the better. So with that, please again subscribe if you haven't. Ding that dong. Likes don't matter too much, but they are certainly still cool because thumbs up are just cool nowadays. There's our Twitter account, which has updates, posts, and everything. We have the Discord again, which has the team chats, has everything. If you want to support, just talk. If you just need to talk to more about people and the comment section's not working, you can also leave a comment. It's pretty dead down there. I think I tried to throw a seed down there and it just grew into a rotten onion. So not going to worry about that, I guess. So with that, that's been the Capsule Cast Gauntlet Part 1, or Bowl Part 1. I'm DoorGuard.
I'm Donut.
Tosh. Oh, and I'm Tosh.
We figured it out. Have a good one.
We got that.
Bye.
See ya.